We now know Joe Biden's brother worked closely with Qatar. Qatar has bought off many politicians in this country, and they're working with Qatar on the so-called hostage release. We've extended our base there for 10 years with Qatar. Joe Biden is sold out and bought up and down by foreign dictators and genocidal maniacs. His entire family does business with him. But putting that aside, Joe Biden is a psychopath. He lies about his own life. He thinks he can recreate and re-engineer the Middle East. Let me say something about this International Criminal Court. We have never recognized the jurisdiction of some globalist court appointed by left-wing radical Europeans and some left-wing radical prosecutor. We don't even know their names. We don't even know how they come to these decisions. They have taken in no testimony. There's no due process. There's nothing whatsoever. This is effectively Europe's Politburo. And of course, Europe has never gotten over its Third Reich problems. The Holocaust was in Europe. The Holocaust spread in Europe. The anti-Semitism and Jew hatred in virtually every capital in Europe, London, Paris, you name it, is vile. It's horrendous all across Europe. And so now you have this phony International Criminal Court that President Trump said, don't you ever try and issue any warrants, anything against the United States, or I will sanction you, I will break you. And that's how you keep the International Criminal Court, which is in effect a joke, off of our doorsteps. But look at the Israelis. The Israelis are surrounded by terrorist states. Joe Biden and Blinken funded Iran, armed Iran, paid for October 7th. They have blood on their hands. I believe they're behind the International Criminal Court doing what it wants to do, because if they said cut it out, they'd cut it out, but they won't say it. They keep dancing around. Look at what Biden and Blinken have done. Saudi Arabia was going to make a deal with Israel to have diplomatic ties. Biden stopped it. Unless they agree to a two-state solution, then only Biden will support it, threatening to cut off arms to Israel, while Blinken keeps going over there like the Grim Reaper to Israel, telling them how to fight a war. This guy, this candy ass who sat on his asshole his entire life in academia and on Capitol Hill, telling the Israelis how to defend themselves. It's outrageous. If this court rules as it does, I want America to understand how it affects our national security. We do not accept its jurisdiction. The Israelis do not accept its jurisdiction. But if it starts issuing arrest warrants to Israelis, it can do the same to the United States. It can do the same to our soldiers that are in Germany and other places around the world. It can do the same to our admirals and our generals. It can attack the United States, too, and it will, because it's controlled by leftist Europeans. That's what controls this board. It is a globalist board. That's all it is. It's a Politburo. Now, the idea that they would single out the one Jewish state that's defending itself, that didn't provoke a damn thing, that has Hamas surrounded right now, the only thing that's going to prevent Israel from destroying Hamas once and for all is Biden, Blinken, and they hope the International Court of Appeals by doing what? By trashing Netanyahu, by trashing the Netanyahu government. I want the American people to understand something. They're only trashing Netanyahu because he's a foil for the Jews. They hate Israel. They want to break up Israel. They do not want Israel to destroy Hamas. They're doing business with Iran. They're doing business with all these genocidal maniac regimes throughout the Middle East. And so Israel's supposed to pay the price. So what if Israel has another October 7th? So what if the Iranians get a nuclear weapon? Let me say one other thing. If this court's going to hold Netanyahu for war crimes and his staff, then it sure as hell better hold Biden and Blinken. Why? Because Biden and Blinken funded this war. Biden and Blinken opened up the ability for Iran to buy arms. Donald Trump had his foot on the throat of this regime. It was on its back. This regime in Iran is slaughtering, imprisoning, and torturing its own people. One other thing. This is really bad. If this International Criminal Court does what it does, and Biden keeps sitting on his hands, and Blinken sitting on his hands, and Schumer and the whole Democrat Party, I want to congratulate the Speaker and some Republicans who are speaking out now. You know what's going to happen? They're going to fuel Holocaust-like anti-Semitism all across Europe, because they will have given the seal of approval to Hamas, to Iran, to Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Muslim Brotherhood, and all the other mass murder, monstrous terrorists throughout the world. They will provoke them. They will give them impetus. They will give them motivation to do more of what they're doing, because After October 7th, what will they have accomplished? Joe Biden running around two-state solution. Joe Biden creating the worst relationship with Israel that we've ever had. Joe Biden threatening to disarm the state of Israel. Joe Biden holding Israel responsible for feeding the Gazans. None of the Arab countries, even though Hamas is stealing all the food and so forth. Joe Biden basically using blood libel after blood libel against the Israelis, that they're killing all these civilians. They're using the Hamas numbers. All of this will be certified. All of this will be sanctified. All the Hitler Youth on our campuses, the Hitler Youth throughout Europe, and the Hitlerians throughout Europe, where the Holocaust started. This is what they're going to take out of October 7th. The enemy is Hamas. The enemy is Iran. The enemy are those who are silent in the face of this kind of genocide. That is, by the terrorists. They're the enemy. The UN is the enemy. The International Criminal Court is the enemy. And it's about time we get on the side of good against the side of evil. And Joe Biden is a pathological, self-serving liar who will do anything to get reelected, including put Donald Trump in prison and have Netanyahu serve with arrest warrants from the ICC. That's it. I'm done.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.